Israel extends evacuation orders in southern Lebanon as explosions continue in Beirut throughout the night. EU countries continue to evacuate their citizens from Lebanon as fighting between Israel and Hezbollah escalates. 2 Swedish teenagers are arrested in connection with explosions near the Israeli embassy in Copenhagen on Wednesday. Volodymyr Zelensky appeals for better air defense cooperation in a bid to strengthen the front line before winter sets in. The Israeli military has warned people to evacuate communities in southern Lebanon, signaling that it may widen a ground operation launched earlier this week against Hezbollah. That announcement comes as a series of massive blasts were heard in the capital Beirut in the early hours of Friday morning. Israeli forces said they'd struck around 200 Hezbollah targets, with the IDF promising severe damage against Hezbollah will continue.
הכוחות שלנו בלבנון מחסלים עוד ועוד מפקדים, עוד ועוד מחבלים. כל התקלות כזו מסתיימת כשידנו על העליונה. כוחות שלנו מוכנים, מאומנים מאי פעם, טעונים בניסיון מהלחימה בעזה ויתרונם בזירת הלחימה מובהק.
At least 9 Israeli soldiers have been killed in clashes with Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, where Israel announced the start of what it says is a limited ground incursion. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization says its staff are working in dire circumstances, with 36 health facilities in Lebanon closed.
In Lebanon alone, 28 health workers have been killed in the last 24 hours. Many health workers are not reporting to duty as they fled the areas where they work due to bombardments. This is severely limiting the provision of mass trauma management and continuity of health services.
Israel says it's targeting Hezbollah after nearly a year of rocket attacks that began on October the 8th and displaced around 60,000 Israelis from communities in the north. Israel has carried out retaliatory strikes over the past year that have displaced tens of thousands on the Lebanese side. EU countries have continued to evacuate their citizens from Lebanon as hostilities between Israel and Hezbollah escalate. Germany flew another 130 of its citizens out of the country on board a military plane that landed in Frankfurt. The German Foreign Ministry said in a post on X that the evacuation plane also brought 5 tons of aid, particularly medical equipment, into the Lebanese capital. Greece also sent a military transport plane to Beirut on Thursday to bring home both Greek and Cypriot nationals who wanted to leave Lebanon. The C-130, carrying 38 Cypriots and 22 Greeks, landed in Cyprus before heading to a military airfield near Athens later in the day. Greece's foreign ministry says it's established hotlines for its citizens living in Lebanon to call if they require assistance in leaving the country. Spain evacuated the first group of its citizens on Thursday, bringing 250 people home on board 2 military planes which landed at an airbase near the capital, Madrid. The Spanish Foreign Ministry said the situation in Lebanon is so serious that part of the embassy staff will also be airlifted out of Beirut on a second plane, leaving only a skeleton staff behind to carry out essential diplomatic work. And France has also started evacuating its citizens, with the first group arriving on one of 4 flights that landed at Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris. The French embassy in Lebanon has reportedly negotiated 2 additional flights to Paris with the Lebanese national airline MEA. Meanwhile, flag carrier Air France says it's suspended all passenger flights to Lebanon until at least the 8th of October. Two Swedish teenagers have been arrested at Copenhagen train station in connection with 2 explosions near the Israeli embassy in the Danish capital on Wednesday. No one was injured in the pre-dawn blasts, which happened in a neighborhood that's home to several foreign diplomatic missions. The pair were ordered to be held in pre-trial detention for 27 days. They faced preliminary charges of possessing illegal weapons and carrying 5 hand grenades. Two of the grenades blew up when the suspects threw them at a house near the embassy, but the Israeli mission wasn't damaged. Danish broadcaster DR said the teenagers aged 16 and 19 are suspected of acting in association and together with prior agreement with one or more perpetrators. Denmark's Prime Minister said it was becoming increasingly dangerous to be a Jew in Europe.
Antisemitismen den stiger. Jeg kan ikke tage afstand nok fra det, og bare sige til både de danske jøder og alle andre, der går op i deres velbefindende, det er heldigvis rigtig mange af os, at myndighederne gør alt, hvad myndighederne kan for at passe på det jødiske mindretal i Danmark.
This comes after shots were fired late on Tuesday at the Israeli embassy in Stockholm. No one was injured and no arrests have been made. The Danish Domestic Security Service PET said that Swedish authorities had assessed that attack had links to Iran. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has appealed to Western allies for better cooperation in combating Russian airstrikes during his nightly video address. Zelensky said it was important to strengthen frontline defenses before the onset of the bitter Ukrainian winter.
Ми бачимо, що однією з головних причин дефіциту безпеки у небі України, і, зокрема, поруч із кордонами НАТО, наших сусідів, є дефіцит рішень про спільну роботу, про спільний захист. Те, що працює у небі Близького Сходу і допомагає обороні Ізраїля, може працювати і в небі нашої частини Європи, в Україні, так само допомагаючи рятувати життя.
Those comments come on the same day that new NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte visited Kyiv and pledged the alliance's continued support. The NATO chief vowed when he took office on Tuesday to help shore up Western support for Ukraine, which has been fighting Russia's full-scale invasion since February 2022. Rutte also said recent steps had been taken to build a bridge to NATO membership for Ukraine, including 40 billion euros of funding assistance and bilateral security agreements. Meanwhile, evacuations continue for people living in the eastern city of Dnipropetrovsk. Officials there say more than 2,500 people have passed through the transit point for internally displaced people since the end of August. Local media say Russian forces attacked 3 districts in the region several times on Thursday using artillery and drones, injuring 3 people.
The victims of the 2023 train accident in Greece have expressed their strong disagreement with the candidacy of the Greek Apostolos Gigikostas as Commissioner for Transport. In February 2023, 57 people, mainly university students, were killed in a train crash in Tempe. Since then, victims' relatives have claimed that the government is trying to cover up the case, which is now being investigated by the judiciary. The Tempe 2023 Association sent a letter to the President of the European Commission.
Αυτό που θέλουμε να τονίσουμε είναι ότι τα συγκεκριμένα χαρτοφυλάκια, τα οποία δίνονται σε Έλληνες, οι οποίοι ανήκουν και στο κυβερνών κόμμα για μια υπόθεση η οποία είναι εν εξελίξη και αφορά την κυβέρνηση, είναι τελείως άτοπο. Δεν καταλαβαίνουμε την λογική του και θεωρούμε ότι υπάρχει και σύγκρουση συμφερόντων.
Maria Caristiano was in Brussels to denounce also the choice of MEP Eliza Vozenberg as chair of the Transport Committee
MEPs,
of the European Parliament.
Colleagues and friends,
she says these nominations are aimed at avoiding accountability for the rail tragedy. Speaking to Euronews, Vozenberg has denied the allegations.
Αλλά λίμωνο να αφήνουμε εχμές, ότι, γιατί αυτά γράφτηκαν και υπόθηκαν, ότι είτε εγώ είτε ο κύριος Τζιτζικώστας, εφόσον και εκείνος εγκριθεί μετά τις ακροάσεις, θα συνδράμουμε, προσέξτε, την κυβέρνηση σε ένα κουκούλωμα ή σε μια συσκότηση των στοιχείων που πρέπει να βγουν στη δημοσιότητα.
On the 4th of November, the European Parliament will start the hearings of the designated commissioners to approve them for the job or reject them. The electric car market in Europe is not taking off, and the industry already seems to be in crisis. An example of this is the Audi plant in Brussels, a factory founded in 1948 and renovated with cutting-edge, low-emission technologies. After 2025, production of the SUV Q8 e-tron, the electric flagship model that is on sale in Belgium for 80,000 euros, will be stopped. But the unions are on a war footing. With the loss of 3,000 jobs plus another 1,000 in related industries, they are preparing new strikes and criticizing the strategies of the car brands.
Les constructeurs automobiles ont voulu faire beaucoup d'argent sur l'électrique. Ils n'ont pas accepté que la phase de transition soit moins génératrice de dividendes et de bénéfices. Et donc ils ont tout misé sur des gros modèles très luxueux, très chers, que les citoyens européens n'arrivent pas à acheter. Et donc on a une surcapacité européenne qui fait en sorte que des groupes comme Volkswagen veulent fermer des sites en Belgique et en Allemagne.
Meanwhile, Europe is looking for solutions, including additional taxes on Chinese electric cars, which are much cheaper than European ones. On top of that, new investment projects are planned for the industry.
Il faut vraiment un plan beaucoup plus ambitieux sur la réindustrialisation. Ce n'est pas que via des mesures protectionnistes qu'on demain on incitera effectivement les entreprises européennes et étrangères à être actives sur le sol ici et à créer des emplois de qualité. Il faudra vraiment aussi une politique globale et sur tous les aspects, sur l'aspect de la fiscalité, ok, mais aussi sur l'aspect de la formation des travailleurs, de l'accompagnement de ces travailleurs, de l'aspect aussi de la recherche et développement par rapport à de nouvelles technologies.
In the first 8 months of 2024, just over 902,000 electric cars were purchased in European Union countries, which represents only 12.6% of the total. Petrol cars, on the other hand, are still bestsellers.